Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this somber edition of, we'll call it Casa D-18 Studios Presents. It is with a heavy heart that I am here to report on the passing of Mr. William Moody, aka Paul Bearer, aka Percy Pringle III. I found out about this last night while I was at the Kings game, which luckily the Kings whooped some St. Louis Blues butt, so the night wasn't a complete wash. But I was informed of Mr. Moody's passing thanks to former Casa D-18 Studios mate and still Casa D-18 Studios affiliate Jeff Meacham. Before I get into some of my thoughts and some other industry thoughts on the passing, apparently it was gallbladder failure. That's what's being reported by yahoo.com. Thought I'd give you a little bit of a history and background, if you will, on Mr. Moody. Some things I'm sure you guys know if you're wrestling historians. Some the more modern era fans, some of this information may come as news to you. So, William Moody entered the wrestling business originally in his teens as a photographer. During his tenure with the Air Force, he wrestled during off-duty hours for Indian Coast Promotions. He managed Rick Rude in Championship Wrestling from Florida and World Class Championship Wrestling between 1984 and 86. Stunning Steve Austin in World Class and USWA between 89 and 90. Lex Luger in NWA Florida between 1985 and 86. And he even managed Ultimate Warrior and a young Mark Calloway in their early careers. Mr. Moody came to the WWF in December of 1990 at the recommendation of Rick Rude. His first appearance on WWF programming was in February of 1991 when Brother Love passed The Undertaker on to him as a charge. He turned heel on The Undertaker in 1996, aligning himself with Mankind. During that time, he also enlisted the services of Vader and the Executioner. Obviously, he was an integral part of the debut of Kane in October 1997 at the Bad Blood pay-per-view during the Hell in a Cell match. When Undertaker formed the Ministry of Darkness in 1999, he was realigned back with the Dead Man and was an integral part of the Ministry, which also included the Acolytes, Viscera, Midian, the Brood, amongst others. Then he left WWE and he showed up in TNA for about a year. He was mainly behind the scenes, as I recall, from 2002 to 2003 during those integral, what TNA now refers to as the Asylum years. I remember watching TNA programming personally and seeing a 3 or 4 part interview during the weekly Wednesday pay-per-views that Mike Tenay did with Percy, and he sat down with him. Of course, everyone remembers his return at WrestleMania 20, where it all began again for the WWE as well as for The Undertaker. It was his big return to the Dead Man after having been the American Badass for about 3 years. In June 2004 was the Great American Bash Concrete Crypt match with the Dudley Boys, where Undertaker ended up pulling the switch himself and burying the Undertaker, or burying Paul Bearer, because he just couldn't deal with the distraction anymore. Percy started doing other things on the side, kind of, made sporadic appearances here and there, got back involved in the National Wrestling Alliance with NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. came back to the WWE again in September 2010 alongside The Undertaker during his feud again with Kane. Once again turned heel on The Undertaker and aligned himself with Kane. Then there was the bragging rights Buried Alive match between Undertaker and Kane, which featured outside interference by the Nexus, helping to bury The Undertaker. I still think there's an untapped storyline there for WrestleMania between Undertaker and Wade Barrett, I'm just saying. Then we had the Edge kidnapping storyline in late 2010, and Orton kidnapping Percy again in April of 2012. I believe that one ended, Pinky's got a confused look on her face behind the scenes, I believe that one ended with Orton rolling him into a freezer, a walk-in freezer. So, those are some of his high points as far as his career goes. Now before I get into some of the thoughts on Percy's passing that I've retrieved from the internet via Twitter and Facebook, primarily Twitter, I'm going to pause for a moment and we're going to show you some of the other Casa D-18 Studios mates and their thoughts on the passing of Percy.
Hello my internet fans, we're here with a breaking news edition at the Casa. It's all over Facebook, it's all over Twitter, it's all over WWE. Sadly, March 5th, 2013, Mr. William Alvin, also known as Bill Moody, passed away at the age of 58 years old, way too young. You know him as Paul Bearer in WWE. For those of you following Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the former NWA Hollywood, you would know him as Percy Pringle III. I only got to meet him once. I have posted a picture of him and I on Facebook. This was just around the time when he came into Championship Wrestling, NWA Hollywood, call it whatever you want, on the indie circuit. This is where I met him. I politely went up to him and I said, of course I called him Paul. I did not call him William. I did not call him Bill. And we were sitting in the arena, I guess, and we just hung out. We just talked, you know. I talked to him as a person. And the only time I really marked out was I said, I have to tell you my favorite promo. He goes, what's that? I go, it was you and Jerry Lawler. He goes, don't say another word. I know which one you're talking about. And this was during the Attitude Era, where he got around with Undertaker's mama. And the ending punchline was one leg was in New York and the other was in Los Angeles. And that was the promo there. And I said, you know, that was the funniest promo I ever saw with you. He goes, yeah, King and I are good friends and all that. And then in reality, I said, you know, do you keep in touch with Mark, the Undertaker? He goes, yeah, we talk a lot. And I go, what about Hall of Fame? He goes, well, that's up to Vince. But of course, when Mark goes in, I'll go in. So after that, I did go to Championship Hollywood, but you know, I just said, hi, how are you? Didn't really talk to him that much, you know. So it's sad that he's gone. Don't be surprised if WWE puts him in the Hall of Fame as a last-minute thing. And my only question is now, what's going to happen at WrestleMania? But I'm not going to rant on that now. I'm going to rant about that in the next couple of weeks. Okay? So for now, I'm done with this. You know, again, Mr. William Moody, thoughts and prayers out to your family. And, you know, you're up there in that big ring in the sky with everybody else. So, as far as me, thank you. And I'm going to finish like I always. Stat Boy out.
I'm not exactly sure where to start. As you guys can see, I'm wearing my Undertaker WrestleMania 20 shirt where it all begins again. It's ironic that the dead man comes back on Monday and we lose William Moody, aka Paul Bearer, aka Percy Pringle on Tuesday night. I haven't been the same since. This is not Pinky talking, this is Elizabeth speaking. I haven't been the same since. Everyone's experiences with Mr. Moody has been, for all intents and purposes, pretty damn positive, if I say so myself. I may come off as bitter, but I didn't get that. I didn't get the positive experience that everyone got. Everyone that I know that met him, I wasn't blessed with that. I got another side of him that I refuse to acknowledge. But the only positive memories I have are in a fantasy world with him on TV, you know, walking with Taker to the ring for years upon years before he even started with WWF, if you guys remember that. He was also NWA and AWA, and that's pretty much the only positive memories I have of him. To his family, to those that loved him, to those that were close to him, my sincerest thoughts and prayers, and my heart goes out to all of you. To his sons, you were blessed with one of the most amazing, well-spoken characters in this wacky business that I've loved since the age of 5. You've been blessed with a man that knew what he was doing, when he was doing it, and how he did it. He knew how to speak. He knew how to get the crowd on their side. You know, if he's at ringside with the urn, you know, he can hold up the urn and the crowd will just explode. If you guys don't remember, watch Royal Rumble 94. Taker goes to heaven, per se. Paul Bearer didn't speak any words into the mic. I remember him mouthing some words and pointing up as in that's where he is, that's where he's going and he'll be back. And there's a shot of Paul Bearer just holding up the urn, going to the right and to the left, and the crowd is just loving it, going nuts. You can't buy that. You can't buy raw emotion and raw power, and you cannot buy the fans' affection. Paul Bearer, in my humble opinion, was the main reason why I love The Undertaker. The Undertaker and Paul Bearer are synonymous for life and in death because of this. It sucks. I never got to see him again, with the exception of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I never got to show him what I've been dying to show everyone that's close to Taker. My tattoo, which, you know, in these days can be photoshopped or sprayed on. No, I spent 45 minutes of pain with this, and I think I whimpered a couple of times. But for all of those, especially us creatures of the night, who love The Undertaker and essentially Paul Bearer, I don't know if heaven has a spot big enough for Paul Bearer for him to run rampant and be with Owen and Davey and Andre. He's probably managing somebody up there right now. I believe my fondest memory of Paul Bearer has to do with this shirt. Undertaker comes back at WrestleMania 20. Lights go out after Kane's in the ring. Lights go out and, oh yes, that's all you hear. And the crowd is going nuts for that too. So you tell me, what manager on this God's green earth can say 2 words, high-pitched screeching, and the crowd knows exactly what the hell's about to happen? That was none other than Mr. William Alvin Moody, a.k.a. Paul Bearer, a.k.a. Percy Pringle III. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, he was also a wrestler before he became a manager in the 60s. Just thought I'd throw that out there for you. If Mr. Moody is watching this, if he's hearing my words, it's not fair that you had to leave so soon. It's not. You were too young. He was only 58, for crying out loud. That's only 5 years older than my father when he passed in '06. You were too young. You were too much a treasure. And I hope and I pray someday that I'll see you again. And most likely under better circumstances. You were and still are my favorite manager of all time. I can't think of anyone that invoked such a raw, true emotion from me as you did. Thank you so much for everything you've done in this wrestling business, for everything you've done since then. You're never forgotten by me. I can't. There's no way. Lord, tears are streaming down my face. I'm sorry, y'all. This might be the only time you catch me crying on camera, so. You're missed, you're loved, you're treasured, you're cherished. May God keep you in the palm of His hand. May His mercy and love shine on you as you travel to meet Him. May your soul find peace. And I know somewhere, somehow, that, oh yes, will be ringing throughout the heavens. Mr. William Alvin Moody, Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle III. God bless you, and may your soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Stat Boy. Thank you, Beth, for that. Beth, I know that was incredibly hard for you. Thank you for sharing those emotions with the viewers. Like I said, this has been very hard on a lot of people. I mean, not to downplay something that we did in the past, but when we did the Randy Savage tribute, you know, Randy didn't play a big part in my upcoming as a wrestling fan, so it didn't affect me the way that this is affecting me. When we did the Eddie tribute about 5 years after the fact, you know, it had been 5 years, so I'd had time to grieve and mourn and get over it. So it didn't affect me as much. This is really hitting home for a bunch of us here at the Casa, because from when I came into it in late '98, all the way up until now, Percy has been a part of my viewing in one way or another, via WWF or TNA or NWA or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, or back to the WWE. In some way, shape, or form, Percy has been a part of my upbringing as a fan, if you will. So I'm going to read off to you some thoughts from the wrestling community on Percy's passing. First, Triple H via Twitter at Triple H. Rest in peace, Paul Bearer. You will never be forgotten. There will never be another. Jezebel Romo, manager of Los Banditos at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Prayers are with the family of Paul Bearer, aka Percy Pringle. Hashtag RIP Paul Bearer, a true hashtag wrestling legend. Former WWE champion and star of the Marine 3, The Miz, at Mike The Miz, said, just found out Paul Bearer died tonight. He was always so nice when I talked to him. My thoughts and prayers are with his family. Hashtag RIP Paul Bearer. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood as a company, at CWF Hollywood, said, tonight we lost a legend, mentor, and friend, William Percy Moody. Our at CWF Hollywood staff is stunned. You are loved and will be missed. Kevin Von Erich, at Kevin Von Erich, says, Percy Pringle was such a funny guy. Everyone loved him. AJ Kirsch, who fans will remember from the revival of Tough Enough, nickname of Tumbleweed, at AJ Kirsch, says, fondest Paul Bearer memory was sitting in the crowd at WrestleMania 20 when an unmistakable, oh yes, marked the return of The Undertaker. Adam Copeland, at Edge Rated R, says, very sad to hear about William Moody / Paul Bearer. Such a sweet man and my friend. My condolences to his family. I'll miss you, Uncle Paul. Christian Cole, manager of the Scorpio Sky Experience at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, at XTIAN Cole, says, Paul Bearer just died. He was a friend of mine. He paved the way for guys like me. May he rest, and may his family find peace. Hashtag RIP William Moody. Scorpio Sky, leader of the Scorpio Sky Experience, at Scorpio Sky, says, met him through my TV when I was 9 years old. Now we work beside him every month. At XTIAN Cole and I were excited to work against him. Hashtag RIP Paul Bearer. Beth Phoenix, at the Beth Phoenix, says, condolences to the family of Paul Bearer. Kind soul who entertained so many for so long. You remain in our prayers always. James Morgan, member of the Family Stone from Championship Wrestling, at On Tap with James, says, devastated and shocked at the passing of our dear friend Percy. A great talent, but an even greater man. Glad to have called him my friend. April Hunter, who some of you guys may remember as a NWO girl back in WCW in late 99, 2000, 2001 before they folded. At April Hunter, said, when I decided to be a wrestler, I was told also learn to manage and watch Sherry Martel and Paul Bearer since they were amazing. Hashtag RIP Paul Bearer. David E. Jones, one half of Anchors Away from SoCal. He's occasionally appeared in Championship Wrestling. At David E. Jones 619. Very saddened by the news of William Moody's passing. Such an awesome talent and a great guy. R.I.P. good sir, you will be sorely missed. I've got two left. As you can see, this is even hard for me to just read these. Olivia O'Lovely, former adult porn star and current manager of The Tribe at Championship Wrestling. She ended her career, I believe, back in '08 in the adult industry to start getting into wrestling. At Olivia O'Lovely1 says, saddened to hear the news of hashtag Paul Bearer, hashtag Percy Pringle passing away. He's left quite a mark in the pro wrestling world. He will be missed. And the last one to read is hard because he's a good buddy of mine. For Mikey O'Shea on Facebook. It saddens me to know that the person who managed the one wrestler that inspired me to become one myself has passed away today. The time that I've gotten to know Percy was a real pleasure. To be able to have worked with him on TV managing Sean Ricker was a real honor. R.I.P. Percy, may our paths cross again in the next world one day. I, like quite a few members of the Casa D-18 Studios family, was able to meet Percy via Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. For those of you that may wonder why I read so many quote-unquote indie wrestling Twitters and Facebooks as opposed to ex-WWE guys, it's because that's where Percy was at home recently. Percy has been managing Sean Ricker there for the better part of the last 2 years, I believe. And in recent months, and even the past year, they did a tournament, the PP3 Cup, Percival Pringle III tournament, and the cup they used on television for the winner was Undertaker's urn. I was not there the day that the trophy was won, and if he does a show or a video regarding the passing of Percy, I'm sure Jeff will probably touch on this. But I was jealous to no end that little Dylan was able to hold the urn. Unfortunately, there was no picture taken of it. There's no proof. But Jeff and Dylan were backstage at a taping, and Percy had the urn for the tournament. He was also wearing his red suit that he made famous during his time with Kane. And he asked Dylan if he wanted to hold the urn. I got to meet him shortly after he came back to NWA. I believe it was 2010, just after the Edge storyline ended, or just before it began. I don't exactly remember. I was able to get a picture with him and talk to him briefly. Picture is currently my profile picture. Pretty much everybody from the Casa has been able to meet him through Championship Wrestling. So I will always have fond memories of Percy and Uncle Paul, but more so Percy, as that's the man that I got to know. All the notes that were read off at the beginning of the show were notes that I had taken down because I had hoped that a couple of months ago I was going to be able to get an interview with him for the channel. Unfortunately, I was never able to talk to him to get him to sit down, as he's always so busy running around at those tapings. but all the notes that I had, that I rattled off to you at the start of the show, were things that I was hoping and praying to sit down and talk to him about in great depth. And unfortunately, now I'll never be able to do that. I know you've heard it a few times during the show, but my thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Moody and his family. My thoughts and prayers go out to the WWE family at this time. I pray to God that they found out about this early enough that they can have something incorporated into the live broadcast of SmackDown, not just a little blip at the front of the show. If not, I really want to see Undertaker on Monday say something. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.